Okay, so there's two ways to find slopes. Slope, and the first way is to graph it. So I'm going to graph it. It's not really the recommended way, but it is a way. 2, 2, 5, 4. All right. So once you've graphed the 2 points, you want to start at the point that's on the leftmost side. So that particular point is this guy right here. That point. So I'm going to start there. And what you're going to do is you need to count how many boxes it will get to meet the other point going vertically. So we're going to go up 2 and it will match the other point. And then you need to go right as many spots as you need to. So I'm going to go right 3. This is called the rise and this is called the run. And the symbol for slope is M. And we have the formula rise over run, and we use this when we graph. Since we went up 2, that means positive 2. If we went down 2, that would have been negative 2. And for the run, because we went right 3, we're going to write the run as positive 3. If we went left 3, that would have been negative. So the slope is 2 over 3. So the second way to find slope is to use this formula, which is the recommended way, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. In order to use the formula, you need to label the points they gave us. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. And what you do now is you simply plug it into the formula, and then you simplify 2/3. Now this method, I said, is recommended. I could see why some students would want to graph it, but when the problems get more difficult, trust me when I say this is the better way to do it. Okay, so the first point I'm going to label as x1, y1. And the reason why we label it x1, y1 is because the first coordinate is 3, -4, so that's where the 1's come from. And the second one is x2, y2, because that's the second coordinate. I'm going to write my formula. And I'm going to substitute my values. I'm going to simplify. And my slope is -11 over 2. Okay, this would be the point where I would ask you to try on your own. So if you want to pause and try, go for it. So the next part that we have here is labeling x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to write my slope formula. And that's -2 minus -3 over 0 minus 4. And that will be 1 over -4. Okay, same thing for the second one, x2, y2. Gonna write the formula down again. -5 minus 3 over -2 minus -7, -8 over 5. Okay, just a quick note. If you had 0 over any number, let's just put like a little star here to represent a number, that's always going to be 0 slope. And let's say you had any number up on top and a 0 in the denominator, that's going to be undefined. So those are two things that do come up when doing the slope formula. So lesson 5.2 is the same as 5.1, just with our favorite friend fractions. So I'm going to label the points x1, y1, x2, y2, and we're going to write the slope formula and then plug in -7/3 minus 2/3 over 5 over 2 minus 6 over 2. Notice I didn't write 3. I wrote 6 over 2 so that I can get a common denominator. I personally like to do that when I'm subbing in. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's up to you. If you don't do it right away like I just did, eventually you're going to have to do it. So I'm just kind of jumping to that step. So I'm going to simplify. So this is clearly a complex fraction. A negative divided by negative is a positive, so I can write a little positive sign here just so that I know it's positive. And then this will be 9 over 3 divided by 1/2. You could change the 9 over 3 to a 3 over 1 if you want. Keep, change, and you get a 6 as the slope. Okay, so I'm going to label my points, x1, y1, x2, y2, slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So there's a lot going on here, so I'm just going to write the numbers as is. So 2 over 1 minus negative 7/3 over 1/2 minus 5 over 1. I'm going to find a common denominator for both. And then I'm going to simplify 13 over 3 divided by negative 9 over 2. So I have a positive divided by a negative, which means the final answer will be negative. So that's where that sign comes from. I'm going to write it the way we know how. Keep, change. Nothing simplifies, so negative 26 over 27. Okay, same problems here, so if you want to pause and try, you can. x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to stop writing the formula down, but you should. 1/3 minus negative 1/2 over 0 minus 4/3. So common denominator. And then simplify. Answer is going to be negative. Write it the way we know how. Keep, change. And simplify. And I got negative 5 over 8. I kind of ran into my other work here, so I'm going to erase this. And you can obviously go back on the video. All right, so for part B, I'll do it in this color. So for part B, I have negative 1/2 minus negative 1 over negative 1/5 minus 2/5. Okay, common denominator. And this I can simplify. So I have 1/2 divided by negative 3/5. I know the answer is going to be negative because positive divided by negative is negative. Write it the way we know how. Keep, change. Nothing simplifies, so negative 5/6. Okay, so this is the last lesson for our virtual lesson today. This is super simple. You just need to know what the slope-intercept form equation is, which is y equals mx plus b. And let's see if I can get my highlighter. Y and x, they will never change. That will always be standard. This is what's going to change. That's going to be your slope, and that's going to be your y-intercept. For those that are curious, y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So in the problem, it tells us that the slope is 2/3. So I'm going to write the formula down. Just like our previous lessons, write the formula first. Keep the y, keep the x, those are going to stay the same. And they told us slope is 2/3, so I'm just going to place 2/3 where m would be. And then they said y-intercept is 7, so I'm going to place a 7 where the b is. And that's it. That's the answer. This is probably one of the easiest lessons we've had all year. Okay, same as before, y equals mx plus b. So the answer is y equals 5x plus 7/3. The only thing that I think maybe it could get tricky, honestly, really nothing, if this was a negative 7/3, and this would be a minus sign. Or maybe the problem will switch these two and they'll give you the y-intercept first and the slope second. I mean, that's the only way I can see that these problems get really harder. But other than that, it's pretty much plug and that's your answer. Okay, these are the last two problems. The answer to this one is y equals negative 3x, negative 1/3 x plus 2/7. And this one, after you plug it in, this is what you get, but you have to simplify that to y equals 0, because 0 times x is 0, and 0 plus 0 is 0.